Hey everyone, it's Meg. In today's video, I have a few different portal designs to show off to you. Specifically, I was trying to work with round portals, but I also gave myself a specific theme, and in this video, I chose a theme of nature. So here are a few ideas I came up with, and I hope they prove to be inspirational to you. Now before we get into actually designing these, I just want to say that all of these portals, I'm using a 13 by 13 portal. I know it's not the largest size, but I just wanted it to be big enough where I could make it round and to add some interesting detail. So all of the portal sizes I'm using are 13 by 13. And in this first portal design, I wanted to try to incorporate a tree. And working a tree around a round portal is quite difficult. I actually took inspiration from a build that I saw done by Pearlescent Moon for this one, where she had done this tree build around a portal. I think I saw it on her Instagram. Anyway, I think her portal design turned out much better than mine, but this is my own attempt at the same kind of concept. I did kind of adjust the way the tree looked. It kind of looks more droopy, not intentionally, but it just does. And I did use more cyan colors for the leaves, just because I liked how colorful it made it look. And I also added the warped fences to look like vines hanging off, just to add some extra fun detail. In the end, the tree looks kind of sad and droopy. I don't think I pulled it off as well as I could have, but it was fun to try. The thing I struggled with the most with this design was trying to get the obsidian completely covered. And I think it's my own fault because I think I should have created the round portal section first and completely covered the obsidian before actually building the tree. So you'll see me struggling later on trying to get it all covered, and this was really just kind of learning and trying to figure things out. Since this was the first one I did, obviously I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to make it up on the fly, and I didn't even redo it. This was my first attempt. But don't worry, I figured out what I was doing wrong after this one, so all of the other designs are much nicer in my opinion. You can still take inspiration from it, even if it's not perfect. It just didn't work out quite like I was hoping it would, but that's okay. It still looks kind of interesting, right? In the next portal design, I wanted to see how well I could build a flower around my portal. So I'm going to start in this instance with the round section of the portal, and I think this is going to make the process a lot easier. I should have done this last time, but you learn as you go. So now that I have the round shape and my portal, I can start adding petals, and I wanted this to be based off of a rose, so I just started outlining some petals while looking at some references. With this design, it's definitely more important to make sure if the portal is big enough to include enough detail. That's the thing about some of these designs is you have to have larger portals so that you can fit more detail into them, especially for something like this. As I outline the flower petals, then I fill them in as I go too, to kind of help me see how it's progressing so far. I'm also taking great care into shading them as I go, and I'm doing a highlight along the edges of the petals and then making it darker on the inside. And this is important because it helps me see all the individual petals much more easily, and in the end, I'll be able to see the actual shape more easily, be able to easily distinguish that yes, it is a rose. And this design was really interesting because the portal is on the ground. Some of the petals are kind of flat along the bottom, so I thought it would look nice to add some extra carpet in front of those petals to look like flatter petals that might have gotten crushed under all of those, since I didn't have much height difference there. If I had built the portal a little bit higher, I probably could have just done another layer of regular blocks, but carpet it is. I also added a small stem and some leaves around to add a little bit of green around it. But I think this portal design turned out really pretty. And if the rose is too challenging, you could always try it with another type of flower. Some flowers that don't have as many petals or might be easier to work with. But I really like how this concept turned out, and I think it's one of my favorites. This next design is based off of the Amethyst, since it's going to be added to the game, and it's one of my favorite gemstones, so I thought it'd be fun to do a portal based on that concept. So it's going to look like an underground cave type of thing, but with giant amethyst crystals all around it. Again, since we want the portal to be round, we'll start with the round shape and build up the design and details after that. I am doing these designs in 1.16 though, so I do not have any of the new blocks to use for this design, although I don't think it necessarily needs them, but if you want to adapt it for the newer blocks, you're more than welcome to. So the beauty of this portal is obviously the giant crystals around it, and I didn't know the best way to do this, but I wanted to try doing a method where I layered different colors of glass to try and make it look not only translucent, but also look like the colors are shifting around inside. It's not just one solid color. The hardest part was trying to get it on a good angle, make sure it was pointing towards the tip and then more rounded towards the base. And I also mixed in some magenta to add some highlights on the outside of the crystal. And I think it kind of turned out okay, although this first one was really just a practice. I did try some different methods of achieving the same effect, just building it kind of differently. The first time I built it inside out, second time I built it outside in, and I really can't say for sure which one was easier. I think it all depends on the size. I think getting the outline of the shape and then kind of just filling it in after was easiest. And I could have used World Edit, I suppose, but I get much better practice building things by hand. Anyway, once I added a few larger crystals, I filled in some of the gaps with some smaller ones, and like I said before, if you were in 1.17 doing something like this, you could do the larger crystals with glass, because I think it looks fine with glass, but then even include some of the smaller actual amethyst blocks, maybe sprinkled around, just mixed in. Those might look good for the smaller ones, but I don't have those blocks available to me. And then I just added some cool cave-like columns. I know they're not the best, and there's probably better blocks to use for those, but I think this design turned out super sparkly and pretty and would look absolutely gorgeous inside a cave base. The last portal design I have for you is an underwater scene, and it's actually a lot simpler. It's probably the simplest one of all of these. For this one, we're going to start with the round portal, but also build an entire arch around this because it's a super simple design. All you have to do is put a rock around it and attach a lot of plants to it. For the gray blocks, I'm using various dead coral because, you know, it has a nice texture to it. I didn't really use any live coral in this design because I'm not building it underwater, but if you were building it underwater, then yes, definitely use the coral blocks. But I'm just going to use whatever random color blocks I can find just to make this as colorful and lively as possible above ground. A good tip to make this look a little more natural and pleasing to the eyes is just focus on the shading. Maybe get 3 blocks of one color, starting with the darker blocks towards the base and gradually getting lighter as you go higher. Also, don't forget to add some more neutral colors too. You'll see I have some brown plants attached to parts of it, and I think that looks really nice and really breaks up all of the bright colors. When you look at underwater scenes, most of it isn't extremely colorful. There is a lot of browns too, so it's good to mix in those colors. Also, try to get varying heights in your build. You'll see I added some tall seaweed in the back just to add a little bit of height to kind of balance out that coral that I have on the left. So little things like that can really improve your overall design. I feel like this whole portal design is really just adding a lot of random colorful plants everywhere and just going crazy with it. You don't really have to overthink it. I just kind of spam blocks and kind of make it look like a shape. So it's hard for me to actually explain this portal, but that's the simplicity of it. It doesn't need much explaining. Let me know if you guys like these inspirational type of videos and I might do more of them. I thought it was a lot of fun. I do enjoy just the creative process more and just getting to experiment with a bunch of ideas and then showing them off, and maybe you guys get inspired and build something even better. That's one of the best things about putting ideas out there, is when other people can take your ideas and then adapt them and then make something even better. It's just so cool to see. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again sometime. Bye!